Hi, I'm just going to have a look at BLR, Black Range minerals for somebody who asks for it. Sorry if I've forgotten your name at the moment. Basically, what I'm looking at is starting the chart from this high here, and this goes back into about April 2007. I think it's the chart does have more history than that, but I don't think the chart would be affected by that history. Where at this point, the history is being affected, okay, by the fibs and the quadrants. Okay, the quadrants are in blue and the fibs are the black lines with the white letters. Okay, what we've done is we've drawn a quadrant and an overall set of fibs from the high down to the low. Okay, and that gives us our fib levels in here. Okay, our 50% and our quadrants midline. Okay, all the way along there, roughly at around about 18 cents. Okay, what we find in charts like these, if you've been following these videos, is what's happened here is the last fib is what I call the Alamo. It's the last man standing. Okay, and what you'll see is by drawing this fib set and this quadrant set is that the stock has become has gone below, okay, that level, and when it's come up to reach this level again, it's been stopped there. Okay, so that's your resistance level, is along that line, that last fib there. Okay, so what the stock now has to do is make it through that, and that's at 9 cents. Okay, that's what's stopping it at the moment. Okay, once it gets through 9 cents and 9.5 here on the quadrant, is what we find is they do tend to go quite quickly, even if they've got an old high up here. But don't forget, that's not an old closing high. Okay, it's just an old high. Once they get through that, they go quite quickly up to the 61.8, and that'll become the next line of resistance. Should they go through that, they'll go quite quickly back to the 50%. Okay. One other thing to note about the chart too, it's done from 2009 to 2011, so it's about 2 years in this range. Okay, so it's basically been trapped in this little range here, which is quite a lot of time. And what you can see here as well is this is what I'd be calling a rounded bottom. Okay, a rounded bottom is pretty much what is something that happens just before a stock will tend to break out through this level here. So I'd be starting to think that this one's knocking on the door at the moment of breaking that 9 cents and, you know, sort of having a bit of a ping. We noticed back here we had a golden cross. Okay, so that gave it a nice little scoot up. Okay, and then it failed. Now there's a reason why it failed, and I'll show you that when we go to the weekly chart. Okay, this time we've got another golden cross here at the moment, and it's hit that level and it's come back. Okay, so at the moment I still reckon this golden cross hasn't failed, and there's a reason. I will show you that when we get to the weekly chart again as well. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, and just show you if we were to take a reverse fib, okay, from that old high there down to the low here, okay, it'll throw up a target. Now it's thrown up a 161 target right in here at around about just 8.7 cents. Okay, it's thrown another target up here at 13.5. Okay, that's very close to that 261, so I'd be suggesting that is fairly for real is way of finding a target. And these things are visual as well. They're not just to give you an idea of where the stock can go. Another target you probably look at as well is if we took it from a low in here to that little set of highs in there, say, what we get is a target 261 up here at our 9.1, which we're pretty much spot on, and we're also pretty close again to this other fib set up here at around about 13. Okay, It also gave a 161 target in here, which it went through, but came back to. If we just check in here, we'll just find out if that was a closing high or not. No, so it was a closing high up here, yeah. Okay, so, but it gave you the target area, so that's probably why a lot of people sold out the next day, or unless it's got bad news or something there like that. Okay. Okay, so while we're on the daily chart here, I'm just going to get rid of those, just so it's not as cluttered. What I noticed on the chart here the other day was a bull flag, which is this pattern here, okay, where the highs get lower and the lows get lower in a pattern like this after a nice big flagpole's been put up. And we measure a bull flag and what it can do by measuring it from the length of the flagpole. And that's basically the length of the flagpole. And that sort of basically told me from the breakout point, as soon as it broke out there, that was going to be the level to look at as a target, okay? And we got 8.8. It actually went through to 9.1. So, it was quite a bullish little situation. Now, it's got a slight gap here. It still hasn't quite filled this gap here. But what if we look at the daily chart here? The other day I was sort of thinking that this was looking like a pennant or a flag, okay? And if it sort of broke out of those levels, that level there, this thing could take off, okay? And again, you'd use the flagpole and that would give you the level that it would go to, okay? So we look at that. And that definitely gets us through our 9 and through our old Alamo, okay, and we're up to around about 10.5, okay, cents is what one would be thinking there. Now, this here has, if we have a look on our volume, really didn't have the oomph to get up and go through. That was the one where the bull flag broke up, I'm pretty sure. We'll just have a look, or was it the flagpole? No, I think that might have been the bull flag breakup on the volume. No, it wasn't. It was this one back here. Okay. That was the big volume day in there, that candle there. And that will show us the big volume day. If we move that to one side, and there it is. Okay, so it's now getting bigger volumes. Okay, we've got here the short entry DEMAs, just trying to chuck a little buy signal in here at the moment. The DEMA is still on the daily chart not bad. It's around about 65. We've seen in the past it's been up to 80 before, these spike ups, okay? The Scholastics is looking to point up and wants to go more, and our MACD hasn't made up its mind yet, okay? So basically the one, so what I'd be thinking here is, because we had this little gap up in here, I wouldn't mind betting that comes down, it'll fill this little gap here, okay? We've got the 7-day period moving average in here, and he's wanting to go like that, okay? And also our little standard error band here, which is a little white dotted, he's looking at doing the same sort of thing. So I wouldn't mind betting those two as support there around about 7.5, I'd be thinking. And what I'm sort of thinking now is, because that little pennant thing just sort of didn't do it, it's either going to come back and retest it and then go again, or what it could be doing, and like I'm saying or, so I could be guessing, it could be looking at doing this, and what that would be doing is basically forming another little bull flag. It might not take as long a time as what this one took to take, but this is what could be happening. And when we get to the weekly chart, I'll show you a reason why I think it's basically going to support around here, okay, at this point, okay. If we just go and put a fib set on that, we'll find out where we're at with our fibs. Just take it from the low up to there. And 7.5 is pretty much a level to be looking at there. Okay, and that's the overall fib. If we were to do it just from the breakout point, whoops, do it from just the breakout point of the bull flag, the bottom there, that's giving us a pretty good little fib set. You know, that's a 50%, that's a bounce off the 50% of this little run in here. Okay, and then you've got your 38.2 in at the 7.5. Okay, so we'd be tending to think that it'll probably come back down here, bounce off that. Okay, you could even just rattle around in here for a couple of days, depending on news and when it gets news. Okay, if news is sooner, I'd probably be thinking the other point of just bouncing off that gap and bouncing off the MA here, and then probably trying to turn and burn and go. It's all going to depend on volumes as well. Okay, but we'll just get rid of that so things are a little bit clearer. Now we're just going to go back here, rescale that. I just want to show you this little bit on the weekly. Okay, now that was our golden cross here that shot us up to there. Okay, let's just have a look at that actually as for a range, trading range. Just before we do the other trading range there, what have we got this time? Oh, we basically had the same trading. No, not quite. Not quite. Well, that one's not really applicable. Okay, on that little one. It'll be interesting to see if it repeats this larger one. Is what I tend to be thinking. Okay. Yeah, well, there you go. It's basically repeated that range there. Okay, so that's probably explaining why it's just having this little bit of a time off. Okay, and bouncing around in here. Now, as I was saying before too, with this golden cross that happened in here, gave us that nice little shoot up, and we've got one happening in here. Now, if we just go to the weekly chart, I'm just going to do the horrible thing, just turn it into a weekly, and then go and find things out again. Now, last time we had the golden cross on the daily, okay, was this run up here. What stopped it was the 200-day here. Okay, stopped it dead in its tracks. Okay, and we'll see on this little run up here as well, the 200. Basically, let's get that out of the way so you can see the 200 stopped it dead in its tracks again. Now, what we see here on the weekly chart now is that we have the candle above the 200. Okay, now the 200's been pointing down like this. These other MAs are going to come up and go through the 200, I would suspect. Okay, this is what I'm sort of basically thinking here. I'll just get rid of those two little lines in there so nobody thinks they're Bollinger Bands or anything like that. Okay. One would expect that at 7 cents would now be support, is what we'd be looking at. And I think, again, that's what we were saying the 50% was on the daily chart, was that 7 cents. So we'd be looking for 7 cents support, okay? Weekly chart, it all depends on where it opens next week. This is the Bollinger, and it's well and truly bullish because it's outside of the Bollinger. They can spend 3 days outside, okay? This also could be a spinning top, so that could just come off a little bit, and that might just sort of fill that little bit of sideways movement, making that second bull flag, if it's fiddling around between 7 and 7.5 type of thing for a little while. It could be a week or so, okay? Or it could open up above this and then go. It's all going to depend on if it's got news or not, I suppose, is the thing to be thinking of. I'm nearly running out of time, so I'm just going to quickly show you the weekly indicators. The MACD is turning up on the weekly. Okay, there's been a buy trigger triggered here on the weekly as well. Weekly volumes are up and increasing, okay, and our scoff on our weekly wants to go up. Our weekly buy was triggered in here, funnily enough, the day before the bull flag breakout. Okay, so Yeah, BLR, I reckon it could, it just needs to get through that 9 cents, and she could be off and on, and that could be good. Okay.